What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Rideshare Rodeo, Uber Lyft driver and gig economy news. Sponsored by Middleton Technologies Maximo. I'm your host, SJ, and it's time to get it on.
Well, midnight headlight, blinding on a rainy night, Steve laid up ahead, slowing down and making no time. I gotta keep on rolling. Those are windshield wipers slapping out the tempo, baby, from the rhythm with the song on the radio. I gotta keep on rolling. Ooh, I'm driving my life away.
Welcome back to another week of Rideshare Rodeo. Before we jump in tonight, I want to thank our sponsors in part, Display Ride. We will get into you can get into everything into the show notes, but Display Ride is a camera with unlimited cloud storage. It is rolling at all times when your car is on. You can request video footage from the last 3 minutes at the push of a button. You can request audio help, and you don't have to buy the camera up front. It's $20 a month, and it's $5 off with the link in the show notes if you use my link. And also as well, Solo. Solo is a worker platform that is an app. And if they're in your area, you absolutely should use them. If they're not, you should be going to worksolo.com and signing up and telling them to get to your area, because 6 months ago when I interviewed the CEO, they were only in Seattle. Now they're in Seattle, Tampa, Miami, Atlanta, Nashville, and then 3 cities just launched in Texas. And what they do is they take the apps that you use, they put them all they put them all into the system. Then they say, what hours do you want to work this week? And then you would put in how you would normally do that, even if it's multi-apping, which apps you found yourself primarily using, whatnot. And then it gives you a couple suggestions, like if you're willing to bend the time a little bit and work, like instead, if you put in, like, let's say 6 p.m. to 9 p.m., it might say, could you do 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. And whatever the suggestions are, will have different totals. But whatever, they give you like 3 different options, and the totals will come out to, let's say your average hourly is $25 an hour. They guarantee to be higher. And I know of people who, let's say it's $25 an hour, we're told by the app you can make $37 an hour if you work these times, or if you work these apps on these time slots. And if you do that and you don't make that amount, Solo covers the difference in a check at the end of the week. It's a pretty big deal. They're a very logistical company. And of course, we have Mr. Middleton and his apps of wonder. Middleton Technologies does both the DUH, the driver utility helper, and as well as Maximo. And the DUH covers DoorDash and allows you thousands of filtering requests. You can tweak it out to your needs, distance, pay, what you are and aren't willing to do. And then beyond there's 1,000 tweaks beyond it. Same kind of setup with Maximo, but Maximo does Uber, Lyft, Grubhub, and Uber Eats. So you get the other food platforms, but you also get rideshare out of Maximo. And the DUH is $99.99 a year. Maximo has a 14-day free trial and is $4.99 a month or $49.99 a year. So it's definitely things worth checking into. So as you guys know, I'm doing the co-host weeks, and I'm very lucky to have somebody that I actually have had on other live streams and stuff. So I felt good about this because he was nice enough to be able to not only on a holiday, but also at the last minute drop in because of a scheduling conflict I had with another guest. We had different dates on the calendar, and instead, this works out well because it was somebody I wanted to have down the line anyway, Mr. Budsoda. So, Budsoda, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. being it's Memorial Day, I want to thank the sacrifices that those who went over and have fallen, never got to come back, have made, so we can do what we do and enjoy this beautiful weekend we've had. Um, Thank you for having me as a guest. I really appreciate it. Uh, for those of you that don't know me, I also have a YouTube channel. It's Budsoda, Budsoda on YouTube. Go free to check me out. I have a couple tips videos, and you go watch me being a clown on several platforms. You might get some amusement out of my struggles. But I really appreciate the guest spot, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
It's not even a guest spot. You've guessed it. You've guessed it on things I've done before and been on streams. This is I've never done this until I just did it with Lou and Mary. This is a new thing I'm doing for like 3 months. After 2 years of the podcast, I've never done you're co-hosting with me tonight. So.
Oh yeah. Well,
this is how last minute it was, guys. We're just still putting together the logistics, but so yeah, all of Budsoda's information will be in the show notes. No matter what platform you're listening on, Amazon, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple, doesn't matter. All of them, same show notes. You'll find all of his info in there, and you'll be able to link to his YouTube channel. And one thing for sure, when you get there, if you find one of the videos interests you guys, or it's a topic you like, and you have a question, I should ask Budsoda this, but I feel like I know him well enough to know that if you ask him a question, he'll probably answer it for you.
Oh yeah, I love interacting with my community.
Yeah, exactly. So he's good people. He'll do that. So if you have a question, leave it, and find a video or two, like it, and if you like what he's doing, give it a subscribe. So again, thank you for coming. So let's start off a little bit by what market you're in and what apps you do work.
I'm in Watertown, Fort Drum, New York area. That's my market. They made my zone. They recently expanded again. So my zone's like over 30 miles across now. It's giant. I've yet to really get many going where the newly expanded area is. I imagine a few months down the line, it'll be a little busier that way. I do DoorDash, Grubhub, Instacart. I'm on the wait list for Curry. I have shipped, but that is not in my market. I have to go to market south of me. And I also have Roadie, and I'm on Spark. Spark, DoorDash, and Grubhub are my three most main ones. And I keep Instacart running in the background for the most part.
So I know you have Instacart as a go-to, and I know actually you're one of the people that it works for. Maybe he was being a little careful saying that around me. As you all know, I'm not a fan, but I have had fans on before on the podcast. In fact, I've had people straight up argue me that it's just like any other app. It could be in the market. It could. And I said, yeah, just overall, it's just not good. But that's just my opinion. I don't know.
I really think the thing with Instacart is that you get all the trash thrown in your face, and it's sickening to see that versus DoorDash or whatever other apps. It's decline, move on. It's not in your face constantly, and you're not seeing every single available order that is garbage. You're like DoorDash, Uber, etc. You're at least seeing some good offers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like decline 5 offers, you see one good one or something like that, or one decent one. That's not insulting.
Yeah.
But I really encourage you guys to experiment, and I really think that's the way to go. I mean, I want to go back down and work shipped because Steve here says it works great for him.
Oh yeah.
So I'd really like to get that experience because it's more of a long-term putting in the work kind of app, because the whole point of it is you want to be someone's preferred shopper who gives you good tips and you have good interactions with them, versus Instacart, here you're rolling the dice whether you're going to get a decent customer or a bad customer, just because every order that looks good is not always good, because it could be a triple batch with a Karen attached. And I
See,
tend
that's what I really think of Instacart is, even if it's not triple batch, just doubled even. They always take a and they don't even have great, but they take a decent order and they smash it with an awful one. So you think you're like doing half decent, but really, it's like, this is junk. When you look at the whole big picture, it's junk. I just wanted that. I don't want this.
Well, like the last triple I did, the first order was like 8 units of Sam's Club, so wholesale club order. So 8 units, the first order, simple. Order B was like just below 30. I think it was like 28 units or something. And the last one was 60 units. It was the biggest one. But when I dropped them all off, ends up being the one with 30 units had the bigger tip on it, and the person with the biggest order only tipped 10%. Like, it wasn't so bad at first, and then like you could tell when someone else is talking in a chat because they change their demeanor, and then all of a sudden no communication, and they just, I don't know if any of you guys work Instacart would know, like they'll say, no, I don't want this, I want that, or I want a refund on this, or get that, or get this other thing they don't have. And the whole point is you're chatting with them and showing them what is available in the store. You're taking pictures. But moving on from that, I'd really like to give a shout out to one of your sponsors, is Gary Middleton's apps. If you guys do DoorDash, Uber, Lyft, Grubhub, and you're not on Maximo and DOH, you really need to at least try the free version of the 14-day free trial of Maximo. You will not regret it. Like, it is so worth the money. I paid for the yearly subscription up front, and if you want, you can do, say, the trial or the month to start with. And if you don't like it, fine, move on. But
yeah,
like,
that is one thing. That's one thing I forget to always say. Two things that you just reminded me of that I forget to say about Gary's apps. Because one, he tells me to just focus on Maximo, so I'm not. He's almost like, please don't even do DUH. You don't need to, but I do it as just whatever. I'm gonna do it anyway because it's Gary. But it's funny because I forget to tell people there's a free version of Duh. I always forget that that you could be run. I know you really don't get everything you need.
You don't get auto decline,
which is huge. That's like a main feature.
That's the biggest part of it. But you can filter it to auto accept the bigger ones. Let's say DoorDash is your only app, and you only do this part time, and you have that W-2. So that would be a great option for you to maybe just quickly snag a good order, and maybe you're driving down the road to where your preferred location is, and a decent order comes in. Boom, you can snag it without having to be distracted by your phone or having to pull over.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. I think unless you're making bank, and by bank I mean bank, and you're not even at all stressed about how any given day goes working these apps, I would suggest to use Gary's apps. I mean, if you're making bank and you just don't need it, different story. But there's very few of us out there doing that without the assistance of some type of app. There's very few people who are just, their market's still just absolutely crushing it. They're undersaturated. I mean, it's like a fairy tale, it doesn't really.
Well, yeah, well, even my market is super heavily oversaturated. I think the gig companies let a ton of people in, or on, whatever way you want to put it, because these raising gas prices, they anticipated it. And they just seem to flood the market.
They never stop anyway. My listeners know all this. My listeners work all the apps. They know this. They know there's never ending. Every day they'll onboard whoever asks.
Like, we got a bunch of new people around here I've seen, and like, I don't know, I'll just kind of throw numbers out my butt the other day, but really, like, it seems like they let on 30 new people when they should have let on 3,
I think,
they let on like way, way more than they should.
Is Waterton like a, does it have any reason that's like or near it, that's a summer location? Like a big summer thing? Because like upstate New York though, like, John Wilkerson, Drive Upstate, I think is his handle.
Yep.
Okay, like he lives
Okay, yeah.
near what is the horse race track up there? It's
Saratoga.
what is it?
Saratoga.
Yeah, Saratoga.
I know where that is. That's
Right.
far
So
south
when
of
that
me.
opens up for the summer, he actually has a better summer. Everybody always talks about summer dying. It depends where you live, man. Like for him, summer's better because there's a ton of people up there needing to go around, needing trips, needing things.
Well, like we have Sackett's Harbor that's part of my zone. That's a tourist attraction. I delivered to what the old barracks were during the War of
Right.
1812, and they built some newer buildings down there too, and they renovated all the rest. Obviously, it's a beautiful area down there. You get to see this big, gorgeous view of Lake Ontario, and I'm not afraid of miles, so I get a lot of good paying orders to just go over there and see the sights a bit. And I shouldn't say lots. I mean, the number of orders I used to get, like I used to be able to just easily pair orders on any app I had and get them to go the same direction. Now it's a struggle just to get one going wherever I want, you know? It used
Right.
to be a lot easier. The only golden goose left is pretty much the military base, so and even that's getting oversaturated.
Right. And that's a big that's a huge portion of your business, right?
Yeah,
That is, I mean,
right now
that's
there's I know a battalion left, so that's a struggle for us. When
but
they'll be gone
don't
6
they
months, I
bring
believe.
don't they bring new ones in?
Yeah, but when a whole battalion leaves, like, well, it's not like that entire battalion. But it's like 90% of the battalion is gone,
Okay.
and that's like over 1,000 troops minimal. Sometimes it's like 1,500 to 2,000, depending on the size of the battalion.
Wow.
So, like, they went on a training exercise to Louisiana. They went down there, and they were gone for like a couple months. It was incredibly slow. It was January, February, or December, January. They did that. They were gone over Christmas and New Year's. Those guys were on a training exercise and couldn't be on leave for the holidays, so that must have sucked for them. But they came back like the beginning of February, and all of a sudden I was like crushing it. I was like super busy, and like now that amount of people left again, it's the struggle again. So like I'm heavily dependent on mostly how many men are in the barracks, how many men and women are in the barracks.
I would compare it to like I'm from Lansing, East Lansing, Michigan. East Lansing, Michigan has a population of like, well, now it's more, but let's say back in the day that it was like 150,000, right? But Michigan State campus has 100,000 students. So when that campus goes away for the summer, you just lost 100,000 out of 250,000, and the people who would use these the most. And so it's just, I mean, it's not even like it dies off; it's dead within a day.
My old rural market has a lot of colleges, and yeah, you lose orders going to the colleges, but there wasn't many that were great to begin with. I mean, broke college
Maybe not
students
great for
using
tips,
apps.
but great for business. It was keeping the restaurants
Yeah,
going and staffing going and things just helping.
but at the same time, the competition leaves. There's a lot of drivers who are on the road who do DoorDash and Instacart and Uber. Like Uber rideshare is a thing up there, not the actual. They don't have the eats. They don't have the food delivery up there.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I heard you not even mention Uber Eats in your like, I know that you're on it, but I mean, in your arsenal of
No, I'm
like
not.
oh, you're not even on it.
No, we discussed that in the past.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Maybe I forgot.
I
I thought
tried
you
to
just weren't
reapply
listing it
again,
because,
and
like, a lot of people I talked to, I thought it was just another market. It was dead end. Like, some people don't list it to me and they're on it, but you can't do anything with it.
I talked to the other rideshare, the other not rideshare, but I talked to the other drivers here, and the way a lot of them do it is they do both rideshare and Uber Eats, but
Right.
it's like Grubhub. It's more of a add-on versus you could work it as your main app. And really, it's hard to even work DoorDash as your main app right now. You need to bring everyone in for the help you can get. My market's just really, really oversaturated right now. That's why I've been a little down in the dumps. I haven't been around a lot for the last month.
But I feel like when that happens, especially like when it happens in a batch like that, like when you're like, wow, they just onboarded way too many, not the normal onboarding where you can just tell like something just flawed. There was a flaw in the system. I feel like you also have that many die off about not too long later because they came in, it's oversaturated. Even if they're trying to throw them orders, there aren't enough. And they're going, what is this? This is not working.
What, like I have late night. I have a lot of late night peak pays lately, and they're actually very good. Yeah, it's very busy right now, for example. So, like, I got a $2 peak pay, I believe, a $2, $3, and a $2.50, and they do peak pays until basically breakfast would reopen, and then for breakfast it's another $1 and $2 peak pay.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not hard to make money right now. Well, like, if you just work those certain shifts, the problem is like, I can't go wild like I used to and work 18 hours a day and make $500-$600, you know?
Right. Well, I think there's a lot of timing playing out though here too. You're talking, I know you might not be there yet. In fact, I'm sure you're not. However, preparations are being made. Like my son just ended school last week. So you're just starting to get, I always think of mid-May to like just after this holiday weekend is kind of people finding their bearings for summer. They got kids at home more. They got, they're like making more meals. They're trying to figure out what's going to happen here. And, I don't know. I've always seen this as, even when I was doing ride shares, this was just a time when your like not airport runs or anything like that, but your normal average downtown traffic, your daily traffic would go down. People are just they're trying to save a few bucks. They know that their kids are going to be home every day for 3 months. It's like they start bearing down a bit, especially given the situation that we're in here. And we won't get political, but I mean, it's, if you're missing the fact that we're dealing with monster inflation and stuff, that doesn't even need to get political. You just haven't been outside lately, I guess.
Yeah, just the lack of stuff on the shelves is absolutely crazy. Like,
oh yeah,
not to get too political, but there's zero reason we can't get some from fellow North American neighbors and Europe and whatever, the West, basically, and they have plenty.
The supply, the supply chain issue is bigger than people think too. I've talked about this a few times on here. It's not just like what we used to talk about, your average article in the paper that says supply chain issues. If you've noticed, those have kind of gone away because it's become so bad that they really aren't even writing on it. Like the supply chain has gotten out of hand, but then you have the trucking situation, which is, I mean, we do not have anywhere near enough truckers. And we have a bunch of broken promises of semis that can drive themselves, autonomous semis, and all of these truckers who are going to be involved have been promised that with autonomous semis, they're going to be trained to be the overseer controller from a control center and make twice as much as they ever made. So you're going to have autonomous trucks out there at 5 times the value of a normal truck. But you're going to have a guy who's going to be now paid twice what he was to not be on the road and be in a control center. First of all, I don't buy that for a second, not for a second. And if there was, it would be like one guy to that control room per 20 trucks or something. It's going to be a problem, a logistical nightmare. It's going to be what happened to the cab drivers if it ever came to that. Luckily, we're nowhere near it. Everything is a joke and with autonomous at this point. And I'm glad they're doing the testing. I wish they would quit doing it live. In fact, I think that's a good time for us to take a quick break and watch a video that I'm going to leave our vocals on so the podcast people hear it. But what we're going to be watching is it's a 3-minute video of a Cruise autonomous vehicle in San Francisco that is trying very hard to evade police. So bear with us, and we'll come back and talk about some autonomous here. But yeah, it's he's looking in there for a driver.
Here it goes.
Listen to the people at night drinking and laughing.
Oh my gosh.
There's nobody in there. He's like, pull over.
See, this is why it's going to be a long time before like food delivery and rideshare will be autonomous.
Because what the audio podcasters aren't seeing is that when the officer approached the car, it took off through an intersection even. So if there had been a kid on a bike, whatever, that kid was going to get mauled.
Yeah.
Because it didn't carefully accelerate out. It gunned it through that intersection.
So my only guess is it's thinking someone's trying to steal it, but
yeah, but
like I can't distinguish the difference between officer and a criminal. The programming went haywire basically.
Then it might stop at every security guard or again, it's stupid because the LiDAR on top doesn't even operate in snow. It'll stop.
Yeah, that would be a big problem here.
You know, it's funny because nobody got hurt, but it's not funny because that thing in the day in San Francisco, that would have hurt somebody. Almost guarantee it.
There's been a lot of actual instances where these autonomous cars, like the photographers go out in front of them and take a picture of them in action, and like some of them do and don't have the technology to recognize what pedestrians are versus cars, and these people got mowed over. And even the ones where I think there was an incident where the ones that were supposed to recognize pedestrians, it still mowed them down.
I love how right there the two cops were behind the car talking about what to do, like it would hear them. Like, what do you want to do? I don't know, man. Like they could have just done that at the window. And first of all, why are these things not have why do the officers not have some kind of fob on this thing if it's going to be on the streets that just shuts it down?
That's also a danger of these is that
they should have a cruise button that's like their emergency dispatch where if they hit it, any car within a half a mile radius of their car stops.
Be kind of like a bait car.
Well, yeah, but I mean in every cruise that's tied to every officer. You know what I'm saying?
That's also the thing I don't like about automation is if it came down to that, like you're an officer of the law, an officer of the government has the ability just to shut your ride down because you didn't pay a parking ticket or something. Something like that. So I find that actually pretty scary that they would have that kind of power. And I know not to be too political, but there are some revenue hungry cities out there that would do something like that.
We just looked at one.
Yeah.
The fact that San Francisco's had multiple issues like this too, you can only imagine if I was a police officer, I would be asking my sergeant if it's okay to blow out the tires. I would want to take out the tires and tell crews to come pick up their junk out of the road.
So I wonder what the automated system does in the case of a flat. I really don't know. Like, would it automatically pull over and go into our rescue mode, basically, like where they were supposed to get towed?
What is even if there's people are like there's cameras inside? Okay, well at night, what if the interior light burns out and somebody pisses themselves or doesn't wake up when they get to where they're going and are passed out hard from drinking, and you can't move them? Like then what?
Yep.
I mean, just there's as a rideshare driver, I just know all the realities of like, dude, what are you going to do about this? I could go down like forever of things that I just don't know how you solve that. Like, you need a person to do that. The car's not going to have a angle that like lifts one side of the seat and just drops you out the door. Like
the Jetsons, you know?
I mean,
oh man,
but honestly, what do you do about that? What do you do if somebody pukes 4 times? And people have said, well, they'll have a camera. I'm like, okay, well, at night without a driver, people are going to puke. I can't tell you the amount of people that had I not like turned on my dash cam to let them know it was recording, because I always had it off, but if I had to, I could push it and it would come on so they knew. That would usually hold people's gag reflex, even if they were like, they'd like crack the window, hold it together. And that's because I didn't even try and get them in the car. But if I ever did that happen, they don't have a driver in there. They're going to be like, well, they're not going to care that there's a camera going. They're just going to puke all over. Then what? Now you're going to now the car's done for the night. It can't work anymore.
Oh, heck, it probably try to keep working and people would
well,
go get in.
If there is a camera, and I would assume there is, but if there is a camera and they saw somebody puking, they're not going to, if you've ever smelled somebody puking in a car after the fact, as a rideshare driver, dude, it's only happened to me twice, but my night's over when that happens.
Yeah, if it's dark or something and someone pukes, like, even the camera's not going to catch everything. If they're like huddled in the corner of the car and they puke all over themselves in the seat, like, the camera ain't going to catch that.
Right. Or people taking long rides. What if people are like, I want to go up, like, from San Francisco, for example. They're like, I want to take the coastal scenic highway from San Francisco. I want to take Highway 1 to Santa Cruz. You can get from San Francisco to Santa Cruz on the 101 in like 45 minutes, but on the one, it takes about 2 hours. So if you did that, what if like 2 people are making a porn in the back?
Oh no!
This is just unlimited, dude. The problems. They could be on scenic highway thinking this is great. They're on their honeymoon, having sex the whole time, the whole way down, like looking over the cliffs at the ocean, and they're not having to drive. And
meanwhile, some perv from the rideshare company is watching. It reminds me
even with the camera on, like even if like, imagine the type of people who are like, well, at least block the camera if we're going to do it. And there's the other couples who are like, don't block the camera. Like, it's just everything and everything's going to happen in these cars. They're not even they're not ready to be out. If they were working, they're not working. But even when they are, this is not going to work. These are all real problems that I'm describing. People take 45-minute rides in cars, and during that time, a lot can happen. If they're not like, what if the person gets a call and just lost a ton of money on a stock deal? He's going to start kicking one of the seats till it like comes off the hinge because there's nobody in there with him. If there's a driver, it's at least going to keep him in check.
Yeah, it's like either you get behave, or I'm going to pull over and you're going to be out. He's left on the side of the road because you can't behave yourself.
Right, or gangsters rolling dice in the back seat. Just like a place to gamble. But also, like, what about like the person who just like when they used to have that Uber. Whatever it was that you were not comfort, but where you could have things delivered in the Bay Area. And it turned into all these shoes that were stuffed with cocaine and heroin being shipped all over the Bay Area. And then they're like, we better shut this down. Well, what do you see autonomous being? People could just say, oh yeah, you're just taking this piece of luggage to my sister up in Oakland. Like, all of a sudden these things are like running deals, doing this, that, the other. Like, I just see them as just like horror.
They drive the exact speed limit, and they're not supposed to make mistakes. So the cop wouldn't have probable cause pulling them over. Or how would you pull them over? You just saw the video. Like, you can't pull them over. The car would just like start freaking out and think someone's trying to steal it. which see, I'm glad you said that, which leads me to us to know the fact that it has evade technology. Why does it have evade technology?
Like, couldn't it just go lockdown and like alarm? If it was worried, why does it have to run a red light and take off from 2 officers?
One would think, but like, I mean, my only guess at that is that people basically ignore car alarms all day long because it's just a normal background noise that got normalized in the 90s. So here it is 30 years later. No one's going to pay attention to a car going wild, honking its horn.
But look at all the people on the street are like, and everybody on the street's laughing at it. You hear that? You can just tell that that's the situation in San Francisco because they don't run them 24/7. They only run them in certain areas. That must be like the crowd of people who go out to those bars in that area. And they're used to that. They're like, oh, there goes another one. They're just laughing at it. It's like they're already used to these things not working, breaking laws. Like my guess is you probably, if you went to that kind of neighborhood, you were at a bar and you're like, how often do you see those? And they were like, oh, they're out here all the time. That most likely, if you were like, hey, do you ever use them? They're like, no, dude, those things are. My guess is people who have seen them in operation are like, we don't go near those.
So I wonder, like, would you have to press a button to opt out of it to not get the automated car? Or I'm so confused on that.
Yeah, I don't. I'm with you on the police thing. I don't know how they don't have a system, like some kind of RF reader or something that shuts the car down. At least until somebody at the service center or in the control center of Cruise communicates with them and says, "Oh, sorry, I've got control of this car." And then if it does anything, it's like you better be turning it off. But until they have communication with somebody in a control center that's watching the screen and has control over that autonomous car, there's nothing what that car can't do. I mean, that we don't even know what they programmed evade. And if you saw, the light does turn green, but in that video, when he gets into it, he's halfway through, it's red. That light was red, and as he got through it, it turned green, like the timing. But like he ran that light, and if you watch autonomous car commercials, they pulled away from the curb real slow. This had 2 cops walking on it and gunned it. It's like, what are you doing? I don't know. It's again, I like pointing these things out once in a while. I like showing the videos. I like talking about this because I like people to know that, and I know a lot of my listeners here, we talk about it a lot. It's nowhere close, but I just like listeners to know that, because if this is what is the closest thing to a working model that we have, that didn't even have passengers in it. It was just out testing the roads a little, and it couldn't even. We saw it just was a fail across the board.
They're like, California wants to be full electric in 5 years, and their grid can't handle it now, and they want to go autonomous after that, and it's like, we're nowhere. No, we're decades away from it.
Absolutely, dude. If even, I'm starting to wonder, like, how fully autonomous, if fully autonomous, even ever happens. I mean, like, by that I mean in the next 100 years, even. I just don't know. I mean, I know that things move quick, and a lot of people would question me, but every time there's been a date, and I've been doing this podcast or the website, and it's been 2020, full autonomous, 2021, I've always been the one saying nope, and you can mark my word on that. It's not going to happen. But okay, moving on here a little bit. So I have a thing here saying, are you being the best you? And by this, I mean, like, for me, gig work meshes with my other freelance work, of which there hasn't been much lately because of, even with the pandemic being over, it's just coming back slow. So it is coming back, but I haven't minded being full-time gig. That's been fine. I've been since 2014. I've been doing rideshare, tons of it. So I know how to work this and how to get through the tough times and how to have a couple other things that I do and whatnot. But if it's not for you full-time, or, is a W-2 for you full-time, or is the hybrid model for you full-time, I'm I know it's to each his own and your market to your own, but if you've like kind of had it with your boss and you've heard things about the gig economy and you're about to get into it and you're wondering about all this, I don't know, Budsoda, what do you got for pros and cons?
So, like, the pros of gig work is if you do oversleep and you don't wake up till 10 o'clock or you're not a good morning person like me, you don't have to worry about it. However, you might lose your scheduled spot, but there's always other apps you can just turn on and try to get on the scheduled ones later. And the cons of it is, like, if you do miss the peak times and you don't go out at the right times or the right days, you can really kind of put yourself in a bad situation because you won't make very good money. Like, you got to know the days in your market that hit. You got to know when your biggest employers, like the other, the big W-2s, you got to know when they get paid because that's the days you want to work because people just, they'll have a paycheck. They'll be ordering their groceries. They'll be ordering food delivery that night. And, for those couple of days, you got to know when the big events are and you really got to dedicate yourself. However, on the flip side, that freedom and flexibility bit is you got a doctor's appointment on a Wednesday. Go. I mean, you don't have to worry about asking your boss, oh, well, we have no
Or
one to cover
anything.
you.
If you have anything on a Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. My point is like insurance through an employer is nice, but there's ways you can get them through these apps that they do a discounted rate. And I really feel like that's going to go away anyway. I really feel that health insurance is an imploding thing. I really feel it's going to have to go to a free market thing. If not, it's going to be more of a central thing, which I wouldn't like. That would be bad for us because innovation would basically stop. W-2 hybrid, I really like that if you're just getting into it, especially. Anyone on Facebook that's like on the edge, I see on these groups, I tell them like, hey, find out what the popular apps in your area are, learn all of them. Even if you do one once a week, once a month, you want it in your back pocket. So that way you can just go work it if you need to. And if not, like if your job is starting to go sour and for some reason W-2 still think that with the Great Resignation they can just treat workers however they please, you're sick of that, you can do gig economy work. But however, as we discussed earlier, it's getting very, very oversaturated. So
yeah. Here's a couple thoughts I have on this is that again, I don't like to say that there's a lot of markets, but there are some markets where maybe it's just not possible, at least for what you got. But I mean, really small markets. But whatever the reason is, if you can take all the gig apps that you can get on, and again, I don't call it a try if you try for a day or 3 days or a week and say I can't make this work. Like any job, if you're not putting in 2, 3, 4 weeks at least to see because you might be doing everything wrong the first week, and again, it's just a lot of it's market to market, trial and error, common sense. But there are some things you can look up, like on Budsoda's channel, he was saying, he has some ideas. I don't like the term tips and tricks because it's got turned into such a nasty thing, but
sure.
But on Budsoda's channel and other channels, people do have sound advice that can be applicable to all markets. Like, if you're seeing just these, don't just move on. Things that your common sense is saying, I get that I don't have to take it, but what's happening? And by watching those, you might find out, oh, I see what's happening, but it's fine to just keep dodging them, whatever, those kind of things. But here's one thing I see is that if you really try gig work for a month, that's a good assessment of how it might not be, you might be able to make a lot more, but you might be coming on at a bad time. You might be able to make, you might be making a ton, and you're going to make a lot less or just some less. But if you're somewhat in the zone after a month and you're feeling like, okay, and even if you're working only 1 or 2 apps, but there's 10 available, so there's others to go to if you need to, that's what can tell you that gig work can work in your area. And on the versus side, the W-2, I know that we're all seeing a working shortage everywhere. And I mean everywhere. I've talked about this, that, we have, 50 Walgreens in Denver, but like only 8 of them are 24-hour pharmacies. Well, one of those is right by me on a major street. And I was there on a Saturday at 5 p.m. and there was a Sharpie written note saying, "We are closed." That store normally has 3 people in the pharmacy 24 hours, at least 2 in the pharmacy 24 hours, but usually 3, maybe even 4. And then the store usually has about 8 to 10 people. They didn't have one person in the store or pharmacy. They were both closed. No holiday. This is like 2 weeks ago. And it goes to show, like, even at the mom and pop type restaurants and stuff, this same thing going on. So I am all for anybody. Like, if you've ever thought you wanted to up your game a little bit in the W-2 world, like, let's say that you're, let's say you've been doing Photoshop imaging for a marketing company, but you've wanted to bump up the ladder and get more pay and better learning and stuff, but you've quit that job, but you remember doing it. Well, if you quit because you never saw any advancement beyond just doing the Photoshop editing, now might be a time to go back to that industry or to an industry that you just even love and have no training in, and apply for a job, because you might find that you get it. But with that comes, look out, because there's a lot of angry people in this economy right now, that because no places have enough people, because everybody is so understaffed, everybody's a little living. And remember, the first and foremost thing that should come to you is, or the 2 things, flexibility is gone. But my bigger thing is, you now have a boss again, and there is no telling how you and that boss will get along. I mean, you have no idea. That could change the entire dynamic of what job you took. You could be on cloud 9 after an interview and think, this job's sweet, it's going to be awesome. And you get in there, and 3 days later, you're like, if I have to go back there again, something's going to happen. I just, those are 2 night and day differences. So the advantage of the gig work, it's on your time. And like Budsoda was saying, I used to, obviously the flex time is huge to me, but I actually got to a point where I have a calendar on my wall and I schedule myself. I say I'm working here, because I have my son too. So I like to know. And then if I need to work more, or if I make enough money in a certain time, I can be done, or I can keep working. But I actually make a schedule that, yes, I can bend it when I need to. I can adjust it on the fly. I could adjust it while I'm working. What I scheduled myself is a 6-hour shift. 3 hours in, my son needs something, and right then and there, I can stop whatever I'm doing and go right to him. So that's great. W-2, you're getting into a whole new dynamic, but you might be able to up your game in what is possible, because people are willing to train who in the past have not been willing to train for certain things. But the W-2 hybrid gives me serious pause, because part of me thinks it's a good thing that maybe you take on a day or 2, but that's not going to get you any benefits. And what it is going to do is cause a problem with your gig work. Like we were just saying, like, what if, like Budsoda said, there's an event in town, but you're working every Monday, Tuesday at this W-2 job, and you're going to miss this event that might bring you $300, $350 in 7 hours. But instead you're stuck into this job that you ask your boss, hey, can I get this day off? No, of course not. We don't have any people. But not only that, I swear, if you take a job 2 days a week, you are going to find yourself, at least right now, you're going to find yourself filling in for people who aren't showing up, people they don't even have hired. So it's not like the old days of like me being in the bars and stuff, and somebody saying, hey, can you cover my bartending shift on Saturday? I'm on at 9. I got something going on. I say, sure. It's a boss coming to you and going, hey, I just added you to the schedule Saturday at 9. Hope you're cool with that. That's kind of the environment right now. And it's like, I'm not cool with that. That's why I work Mondays and Tuesdays. So
I had a W-2 where they would schedule me at multiple different locations throughout the week. Like I wouldn't even be just called in, and then I get I have 5 or 6 shifts scheduled out already. I'd have like 3 or 4 full shifts and 2 or 3 partial shifts, and then it usually ends up I get called early the next morning. Hey, so and so called out sick. Can you go open the store? And I know you're working the close. We'll try to get someone in for a few hours so you can go have a 2-3 hour break. And that would never happen most of the time. So, it's I basically work open to close and get 2 30-minute breaks if I was lucky. So I mean there's that risk. At the same time is you can benefit from that, but at the same time, like you said, you're missing out on some of the better hours you could be working the gig apps or some of the better days when there's an event or something. You're going to be stuck at that W-2, and I'm not just talking restaurant. I'm just retail.
Yeah, let's say retail. A lot of you could find out that a daytime event is happening in your area where you could make $400, but you're going to instead make after taxes $65 at your retail job.
Yeah.
But there's nothing, I mean, your boss isn't going to give it to you off. You can't do it. And my guess is that's the kind of thing that if I was in that mindset and I'm having that W-2 job, is I'm walking away after taxes with $58, $62, I'm going to be like, well, then I quit because I'm going to do my gig work.
So like you got to have a different mentality about it too, is a lot of people don't have, it's my opinion is on it. You have to have a hustle and a business mindset. And a lot of people don't have one or the other or neither, and they treat it like a normal W-2. And if you do that, you will fail. It's definitely not for you. Maybe you can do it. Maybe you can just do what a lot of gig tubers call it, is dashes of convenience. And you can just hop on when the zone's pink at dinner hour and make okay money. You're getting an extra $100 a week. But otherwise, a lot of people don't understand how to work these apps and make the money they need to. They don't make sound business decisions. I mean, they don't have good customer service skills. If you don't have good customer service skills, you don't make money with customer service, but it comes back to you in the long run. And
but
maybe on the
to
apps,
be honest, neither do a lot of the apps.
Yeah.
I mean,
but you can make the experience so much better. I've had a lot of Instacart shopping orders because that is a more full service, more personal job where they felt I was of exemplary service and they upped my tip. Like,
but then you get the ones who don't respond to you when you need them to.
Yep.
And you're in the store and you're like, dude, I'm serious. Get back to me. What's up? Come on.
It's a
you're
give
being
and
nice
take.
about it, but
and if a choice seems obvious to me and they're non-responsive, I make the choice for them. If it's a little less obvious, but I still have a gut feeling about it, I still make the decision for them, so I don't lose my tip because it's mostly percentage based on those apps, on shopping apps. I know Uber shopping pays like you have to get everything now, or you get you also get knocked down. So you have to be careful there too. If you do just like a Walgreens order or CVS on Uber Eats, so it really really stinks because I know other apps are more picky about how you substitute items, and you can't just change the total. It has to remain the same or less, or else it won't work. And if you don't, you have to call support, get them to understand what's going on, and get them to up the amount on the card. And then they have to adjust it on the customer. And even if the customer said, yes, I'll take the value size of whatever, because they didn't have the regular one. So
for people who use Instacart all the time, I would think that it would be a smart thing to say, there's two, like, okay, how there's just the pick it up and drive it, but there's also, then there's the shop and deliver. So shouldn't there be another? I think there should be two options in the shop and deliver. I think there should be one that says, this is what I want. Anything missing from it, just move on. And then there should be one for more advanced Instacart users where they're like, like, let's say that you want a type of cereal. but where you can say, if they're out of this, I'll take this, where you have it already backed up. So that if you're in there and you say, well, they don't have Cheerios, it says, okay, get me Wheaties.
Yeah, you get the store brand or whatever. A lot of people have substitutions already like approved, but at the same time,
Where I'm talking about where, like, if you were to be in the app and you're like, you know, you hit out of it, let's say, and it just pops it up where you don't even have to contact them. They've already put in their backups.
Yeah, there is that. There's customer substitutions, but the problem with that is if someone manually substituted something at one time, Instacart likes to put that as your permanent customer approved substitution because you said one time, okay, I'll take that instead. And then when people get, you know, they don't want that all the time, you know, it's their second choice, you know, and they still want the other thing. So
right, I'm more talking about like me right now. Like I don't ever use that service. I go to the store for myself and my son, but I could make, if I got on Instacart, I could make a list of here's what I want, here's the brands that I want, and I could actually take the time before ever making my first order even and saying if they don't have Red Baron frozen pizza, I'll take this. I could do that from the first day.
Yeah.
And have item association so that you don't have to contact me. If you hit that they don't have it, boom, it just slides right in as the backup.
Yeah. We had my roommate orders. We had a shopper who wouldn't even pay attention to the substitutions he had selected, and she didn't even message about the ones she did select, and just got whatever she pleased. It's like it wasn't even close.
Right. Yeah.
And so there's people out here who don't belong doing this work, but then there's people who are dedicated to it. We got a few minutes left here, so I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about.
No, I was gonna give huge thanks to you and make sure that people check out your channel. And other than that, I was just gonna say some upcoming co-hosts. Why, you got something for a couple minutes here to fill some time?
Yeah, I guess. The one thing I suggest to you that's kind of the theme of my channel is you guys experiment out there and you try different things and take different risks. Like, obviously, if it's Friday and it's payday in your town and you're working dinner, don't stop doing dinner to go try something else. But I mean on, like, the slower days, there's a Tuesday or Wednesday when you wouldn't usually make money anyway, and there's that new app that you could work in the next market over. Go try it. Go experiment in a different area. Go experiment with different apps and figure out how to work them, guys. And you can make this work, I believe. Still, I've got to really get crunching on that myself. But at the same time, don't overstress yourself. Like, if it's just not working in the middle of the week, find something else to do. There's temporary job apps and stuff out here. And what's that app you said?
But again, that's a really good point that you just hit on, because, you know, with this job, if you're going, you know what, screw my W-2, I hate my 9 to 5, I hate my boss, I hate this, I hate that, I'm done. I'm going to try this gig economy thing. I know that it's maybe already hit its all-time peak, but I think there's still something in there. And I think that some things will come around. I mean, I'm of the opinion things will, but, like, you know, first of all, get on it, because like apps like Curry, for instance, you know, like, apply for that right now. Budsoda tried, and other people I know, and depending on the market you're in, you're still on a waiting list. Grubhub used to have like a year-long waiting list until the pandemic. I mean, you couldn't get on. Grubhub was the food delivery before the pandemic, when none of the food deliveries were doing good, you know, and that's because they kept it at a respectable number for the area. They actually had a quota, like, we only need this many drivers, you know, which is probably a good thing, to not too overboard. I get why they do it as well, but I mean, yeah, I mean, you have to keep in check that one app might not work for you, or, you know, which, and just sign up for all of them. You know, our friend, we have a friend, Kim, who does the roundtable with me on Thursday, Kim's Side Money Plans. she's all about sign up for everything right now, right? Sign up for it all. And I kind of agree with that. I think that that's what you should do, because you might play with one for 2 days that even a friend of yours in your area has told you they kill it on it. And you might find that I'm doing okay, but I hate this. Like me and Instacart, I hate it. Even if it paid a little better, decent even, I would still hate it. I'd rather do this or this or this app.
Yeah,
so it's
everyone loves Spark, and I haven't been doing that great on it. It's heavily oversaturated in my market. So
see, everybody exactly. Everybody loves Spark right now. Everybody. However, and this is weird, Jason Thierry, who does the Gig Economy podcast in Michigan, lives in Grand Rapids. Pretty big city for Michigan, but not a huge city. And he was on Spark about a year ago and doing really, really well, like everybody's talking about now. It's all the rage right now. But he was on it there then. And it was around like December when he was already saying kind of what Budsoda's saying. He was like, okay, it's dead here now. You can't make any money on Spark. Right about the time when everybody else is like, oh, you can make all this money on Spark. It was weird to me because I hadn't heard a lot about it except from him. And he was already saying the well is dry, that he was crushing it, but the well's dry. And now everybody else is crushing it. And I'm thinking, okay, well, clearly they've already shown the well will go dry.
It's been in my market for about 6 weeks, and there's already so many people on it. Like, I discovered that it was in my area because I went to, you can just hit my zone and you can look it up. And I just typed in the Watertown zip code again. And then all of a sudden, oh, this store is actually on it now. I knew it was coming here sometime, but it's not like they gave me a notification, hey, there's a new nearby market that you can go to. They don't exactly tell you. You have to actually put in the footwork yourself and look for it. But I think everyone anticipated it coming here because Point Pickup wouldn't let anybody on. So Spark was coming and everybody knew it because Point Pickup, I'm still on a wait list. They won't onboard anybody because they're losing their Walmart contracts. And what everyone did is sign up for Spark as if they're working Syracuse and maybe worked a day or two of it when they first onboarded because the initial onboarding money's stupid.
Right.
Or because East Syracuse always has demand. You wouldn't want to work the area because it's the hood, but you can go to other parts of that market and easily work it. But same time, that market is giant, and this market is like 2 stores. Well, 3 stores.
Right.
There's a Sam's Club, but you don't really get orders out of it, and there's 2 Walmarts. They have Home Depot. I've never seen an order from it. They have Advance. I've never seen an order from it, but they're there.
Yep.
But at the same time, when I have Spark on like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, especially when the part-timers are all on, if you turn it on, like if your dinner's being slow and you turn Spark on, if you do get an order, it'll be on the screen for like a second, like Instacart, and it's gone. It's just so oversaturated for me. But, that's why you got to keep looking around and keep searching for these other ones that maybe people are not as apt to do. I was hoping Shipt would come here because we do have a Target.
Yeah.
Target here is on Instacart and DoorDash. Well, I thought Shipt would come on board, and Shipt has other stores too, but they still yet to come to this market.
They will though. It'll just be a minute, but they will.
Yeah, if you looked online last year, it said they're coming soon, and they're still not here.
Right. Yeah. Well.
But all right. You have a good one, Steve. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for having me on as a co-host. You guys all be safe out there. I hope you had a great weekend. Be safe and enjoy.
All right. And for those of you, before we get out of here, check out Budsoda's channel. You can find it in the show notes, wherever you're listening to this. Upcoming podcast co-hosts are Zach Drives Fast. We got John Dash Theory TV, John McCallion, Los Angeles writer and gig worker, Dana Scott, Boston gig worker since 2014, Rideshare Lisa, and Jason P's Drive to Win 13 coming up. So that's a wrap, folks. We'll see you all on Thursday on the round table. And even some of you podcast people I've been seeing popping over. I'm loving it. So have a great and safe week. Hope you had a great Memorial Day. If any of your family has ever served, hats off to you and to anybody who has. And go spin some good into this crazy world. And we'll see you back here next week on the Rodeo Podcast.